And I am Janet, Reverend Janet Childs, and I so welcome you to our speakers series for the Universal Church of the Master. And we have a special topic tonight that is very near and dear to my heart. Overcoming challenges and making meaning, the spiritual journey of our LGBTQIA plus community. And we have 4 incredible speakers that are going to be with us as we discuss this powerful issue. We're going to explore the spiritual dimensions of coming into full claiming of your identity as a lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex, or asexual plus person. How can we all make meaning in our journey while honoring our full selves? These amazing people will explore the challenges in their process as well as the spiritual awakening. That can blossom when we have the courage to live it. All of our speakers' lives have been dedicated to social justice and spiritual development. Their wisdom will inform our lives. This is for all of us to remind us to claim who we are and how to reach out to get support from our many communities. You make a difference, whoever you are, and we need your special presence and light in these intense times. In this month of June, we offer this discussion as it is traditionally Gay Pride Month. As we learn, grow, and teach each other, may we be joy, compassion, and celebration together. So I welcome each and every one of you to the speaker series, and we have a tradition on our speaker series of doing this. Lighting the candle, which is the symbol of hope and healing that we can be for and with each other as we journey in our lives. That's the power of the speaker series. We share our cumulative wisdom. And so I just want to light this candle for all of you who daily live your lives in integrity and in honesty and in great compassion for your community and for the world. I really want to honor you today. Each and every one of you on this Zoom meeting does amazing work in our world. And just by your presence, you make a huge difference. A huge difference. And so we're going to begin by talking, having each of our wonderful guest speakers speak a moment about their journey. And then for the second half, we will have discussion where we can explore on a deeper level how we are integrating this into our lives and how we can be together as that spiritual force. And for those of you that have not been on our speaker series, they are open to everybody, and we just like to bring different topics of relevance and spiritual development to our community. So please invite people to join us every second Tuesday. Thank you, Corky. Every second Tuesday of the month. And next month, as a matter of fact, we are having Chris Brown do an incredible in-depth discussion. And you're going to have to look and see what it's about, but it's going to be an amazing journey. So thank you all. Thank you all for being here. And I just want to invite us to stretch, take a nice deep breath, and just gently allow yourself to get here and just to be here in this present moment. There's nothing you have to do right now. There's nothing you have to go to. We are just here to share the wisdom of our hearts. And I'm going to invite you, take off your backpack. What I mean by that is our backpack is all of the worries and cares and griefs we might carry. Just let's lift it off for today. Pick up the backpack, pick up the strings of your backpack, pull it up, and throw it to the side. And that's why we're just completely clean, completely present. That's right, I love that, Joyce C. You're just wiping it off. I love it. So I'm going to start with our wonderful Daniel Canales. And I have the privilege of have worked with Daniel and known him for many, many years. He's been an incredible activist in the HIV community and in so many other communities. He is an incredible community advocate and has been that for the many communities he's involved with. And so, Daniel, I'm going to offer you come up first and tell us what it's about.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Can everyone hear me okay? Awesome. Awesome. Well, like Janet said, I've been in the nonprofit community for a long time, supporting a lot of different organizations. You know, currently I'm sitting at Live Oak Adult Services. I'm the associate director. This is a new role for me, but I'm really happy to step up and take the challenge for it. I've worked with other groups like um, for the Center for Living with Dying with Janet as well. I've been lucky to have been part of that, and also supporting the uh, HIV and AIDS community. I was a one of the members of the Health Trust and other organizations to bring some of that uh, knowledge and stuff to the community. Um, since we're talking about our spirituality path and and a lot of folks might call it religion or however you feel that it's your spiritual way to practice. I don't think there is a right or wrong way to do it. Whatever brings you peace and brings you joy and brings you a serenity to kind of move forward, right? um, Growing up, with my family, we're very religious, very Catholic type upbringing, and I was lucky that my parents were very open, and they had us go to church with them until I was maybe 11 or 12 years old, and then I was given the ability to choose if it's something that I wanted to continue. So I'm happy that my parents were open-minded enough to realize that this might not be a path that I might want to choose for myself, right? And at that age, I already knew that I was a little bit different than most people, and I didn't really quite know what the word was, right? Growing up as a young gay Latino male, the type of role models I had growing up in Texas is very macho, very much cowboy style, and it's different from you know what you would expect to be, um, as far as where I'm at today, right? There was really no role models for me, and not for a lot of us. Never was really role models. You kind of have to just figure it out as you move along, right? And so spirituality for me really evolved and changed. And I really came into what I feel today is my spirituality as an adult, probably in the last, 15, 20 years. And really what it comes down to is, just making uh, peace with myself and, you know, to, um, making peace with myself and just being kind to those around me, right? Uh, it doesn't take, a lot to be kind to someone, right? And I think a lot of people forget that, there are other folks that have much more hardship than we are. And sometimes we need to give them grace to make sure that, hey, that they can do what they need to do, regardless of how, they practice their own spirituality, right? And I think that our community, especially the gay, lesbian, and bi community, that we're very much open, to build that compassion and that network to make sure that we're getting supported for each other. And I think that's really important. Sometimes we forget that, just because we might not go to a church together or practice together or any type of religion, that we do still have a community around us that support that supports us regardless of what type of religion or spirituality that we practice. So um, that's what I have to say for now. So
I just would offer, Daniel, in your journey, what was, if I may ask, what was the discussion, or what was the internal discussion you went through in terms of discovering your spirituality?
yeah, I'm the type of person I like doing a lot of research, right? I like talking to a lot of different individuals, right? I know that there's been a lot of young gay men that I ran into growing up where, they wanted to actually go to the church, right, to practice to be a priest or whatever, right? And they had their own internal issues with that. And I think they felt that if they ran to the church, that there'd be some kind of safeguard. And unfortunately, many of those didn't find, sanctuary, you know, in the church. And so from watching those individuals struggle with their own religion and how to be spiritual, it it kind of led me down a different way where it's like I had to be a little open-minded on what spirituality really was for myself, right? Not what anyone else wanted for me or what I thought would be for me. And I really had to go on this long journey to really just discover what it was for myself, right? And along the way, just picking up, little tidbits of how others were practicing and dealing with it, and unfortunately, there's a lot of heartache, that I heard along the way and difficulty navigating, some of the traditional, you know, religious religious patterns and churches and all that stuff and what folks believe that they should be doing, right? And I'm happy that as a young kid that I was able to give that permission, was given that permission from my own parents to say like, hey, this might not be something that you'd want to continue doing into your adult life, so you should choose what you want to do, right? And so I think with that beginning really led me in a way to just a path and journey to really discover what spirituality was for myself, right? And but definitely hearing a lot of folks the difficulty in navigation uh, of our culture and how we're treated with the current religious traditions that are out there was really difficult. And I think that's why I ended up where I'm at today, right? Just be kind to myself and, I'd like to meditate and just find that light and stuff and guidance within myself. And I also look to folks in the community that I really cherish, and I think that they have a great light to lead the way for others as well, right? And so I think I'm drawn to individuals, that are that way, so, to help guide me through the darkness. I like to say so. And I think that's sometimes difficult for a lot of individuals to find that light, right? But I think going to the community and finding those individuals, those lights, those beacons really help, move you forward and discover what it is that you really want for yourself when it comes to spirituality and just finding your way out of the darkness when no one else seems to be listening, or you find that, whatever religion that you are practicing, that you might not have any other support. But like I said, this is not necessarily a church that we all would go to, but it's an accepting one where it doesn't matter really which religion or how you pray or whatever your spirituality is that just to be supported for the way that you do practice or you do support others in what their journey is. So I don't know if that answered your question or not.
No, that was beautiful because I believe that's what UCM and why I'm a part of Universal Church of the Masters, because it creates that exact environment. You know, uh, for us to be whoever we are, and to have support. And I just think it's very powerful, Daniel, what you talked about in terms of getting support is a huge part of unfolding our spiritual journey.
Yeah,
All right.
it is.
Thank you. So, I'm going to go to Amanda, Minister Amanda McClure. She's an amazing minister in our tradition. And Amanda, go ahead and talk about your journey, if you would.
Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. So for me, I came out almost 2 years ago, well, it will be 3 years in November the 13th. I came out as liking girls, and what I have struggled with, and still kind of am, to be honest, is the labels. Um, I had, I remember having a conversation with a friend who is also a lesbian, her and her wife, and she one day asked me, "What are you? Are you bi, gay, lesbian?" And I'm like, "I'm no label. Labels to me, they don't feel right. I feel like if someone labels me, I feel like I'm in a box." Um, and so I struggled with that. And I'm like, what am I? And then I've had conversations with God. I always do, anyways. And I'm like, what am I, God? Am I, because I was like, labels just don't feel right to me. So, and then I heard God, she said, well, you are who you are, so just be who you are. And then there was one time I said, I kept telling everyone I was gay. And then God's voice came to me in a dream, and she's like, stop being gay, stop being all these labels, just be you. And then um, I thought I had liked men for a while because of everything of, yeah. And then again, that voice came to me in a dream, and God said, she was using my friend's voice, and God said, you don't need a boyfriend. And I'm like, but if I'm no label, and she's like, you don't need a boyfriend. You like girls, and that's okay. So just be you and stop caring about what other people say. And if people want to label you, let them label you. Don't fight with them. Just let them think what they're going to think. So now I'm at a place where it's like, if people want to label me, they can, because I can't control what they do. But as long as I know who I am, that's all that matters. And I grew up in a Christian household where and it was like the fundamentalist Christian household where I was not supposed to like girls, and being in the LGBT community was just not acceptable. And I went out to lunch with with a couple of family members, and a relative, she was like, do you like girls? Does your friend like you? And I'm like, yeah. And I was 14 at the time. And she was like, does your friend like you? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, no, no, no. What I mean is, does she like you? And I said, well, we're just friends. She's like, well, good, because in this house you're heterosexual, and if you like girls, you'll go to hell. So I kept it to myself, and I like to call it undercover. So when I was a teenager and when I was undercover, I had girlfriends, and yes, I dated guys, but I just feel like I'm more connected to women than I am a man. And so 2 years ago, before I came out, um, I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and he had said, you could just come out now, come out of the closet. You can come out from hiding. You live alone, for one. Second of all, you have a connection with a woman. Third of all your women relationships have lasted longer than the men. So just come out already. Oh, thank you.
So it sounds like that was a real turning point for you,
Yep.
Amanda. Yeah.
Amanda, you've been so brave. This is Joan. I've watched you and you've been so brave through this process.
Oh, thank you.
Beautiful.
And you've helped a lot of other people as we watched you be brave.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you're here, Amanda. Are you complete, my dear?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So now I'm going to go to our wonderful Trisha Cokes, who has just been an incredible
Mhm.
advocate for people living with disabilities in her community. And I'll let her tell her story, but she's a survivor of a critical incident, a critical illness, and how it has been for you, Trisha, in your spiritual journey.
Um, yeah, thank you. Um, I'm a community advocate, and I'm for people with disabilities. I myself have cerebral palsy from birth. Um, and I um I'm um I'm on several committees versus as far as like the VTA committee for transportation mobility and accessibility, and I'm the board president of the Silicon Valley Independent Living Center, and several other ones. I could keep going, but I can tell that late. I can talk more about that later. Um, I think I figured out I was part of the LGBTQIA, I guess that's what you call it, um, community during the pandemic. I kind of thought about I just kind of thought about it. I was, you're on you're alone at at your place wherever you were in this bubble during the pandemic. And I just realized that um I had dated guys in I dated one particular in college, and then a few others after that. But I feel like I have more of a connection with women than I do with men. Um, and I think I was also I'm I was hurt. I was kind of not physically, but mentally a little hurt by men towards the end when we just didn't get along. It was what do you call that? Irreconcilable irreconcilable differences. Yes. Thank you. I can speak. Yes. So personally, I am a I have never been with a woman yet. I have yet to be with one, but I have a lot of women friends who are just friends. And I just I just find them easier to be around, calmer, and just we like a lot of the same things. I myself like to play backgammon and go to movies or go to lunch or coffee. Um, I Since I came up during the pandemic, I wasn't able to tell my parents this because they passed away before it, unfortunately. But I did come out to my sisters, and I think they told the rest of the family, I guess. Anyway, they were very supportive, and they, congratulated me, and was like, they were very proud of me, and on and on. And they just embraced me. And so I have an awesome family unit. I'll say that for sure. But and I grew up, and I'm still Catholic, in a um, supportive Catholic household, and I still follow that. I follow Catholicism today. I don't agree with everything they have on their in their plate, but I find myself a very spiritual person within myself, and I'm very kind, loving person, and accepting. Um, I like almost everybody, unless there's, somehow they they cross me, or something do something unkind to me or my family. Um, I'm I'm pretty much uh, friendly to everyone. So that's what I have to say for now.
Thank you so much, Tricia. And just what you brought up, having a supportive family that would embrace you is
Mm-hmm.
a huge victory. And I
Mm-hmm.
just really want to honor that, and honor, your particular journey, which has allowed you to be a part of some spiritual aspects of the Catholic Church,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
you found your niche, you found your place.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Oh, and one other thing, a friend of mine who who came out several long time ago now, told me, we talk a lot, and she said that when when I when I do meet somebody I want to go out with and stuff, um, it's it's up to me or that person, but me, as far as what I want to do and how far I want to go and
Yeah.
when I want to do whatever certain things. It's communicate together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. 100%. You have a right to your own opinion and your own pace.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Beautifully said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All
Thank you.
right. Thank you so much. Oops. Next on our wonderful panel is our incredible Gabrielle Antolovich, who has just been on the front lines, is the president of the Billy DeFrank LGBTQIA plus Center. She's been in our community for many years, many years, and I'm just so grateful. You're one of our elders, Gabrielle. So please share away.
Yeah, I'm old.
You're
Uh,
wonderful.
my spirituality actually began when I was a child. Um, my parents are immigrants from Yugoslavia, and they moved to Australia in 1950 after the Second World War, when America and Australia were looking for immigrants to rebuild the countries after the war. And what happened is the propaganda was like, we want you, but the people hated us. I was born 5 months after they arrived, and English is my third language. And And my poor parents were so confused. It's like I thought they wanted us, and yet they treated them like garbage. And what happened for me is two things. One is when the parents don't show an appropriate emotion, like getting mad about being treated like dirt, then the children will start acting that out. So at 6 years old, when these white Australian men were spitting at my parents, telling them to, speak English and almost kicking them. I was so scared that I thought they were going to take my parents away. So all of a sudden, this courage came up in me, and I lunged at them and swore at them in Yugoslavian, and they ran away. And and it's like I cannot tell you how that made me feel, because I thought I was saving myself from having my parents stolen from me, which is a very common thing. Immigrant kids have their parents taken away, their children are taken away from immigrants. You even see it today. So it's not an unreasonable reaction for a 6-year-old. But years later, I I figured out they probably thought I was one of the Romas, the gypsies from Eastern Europe that put a hex on them. And that's why they ran away. But who cares? They ran away, you know, and it gave me a taste of what it's like to stand up for something. And from a 6-year-old point of view, um, when you see on Instagram these tiny kittens attacking great big dogs, that's how it was. And then the other thing that happened, this was in the 1950s. I was born in 1950. And back then, they were really making men masculine, going to work. They had to get the women out of the workforce and feminize them, have them wear makeup and high heels and poofy dresses and poofy hair. And these wonderful housewives, and the propaganda said, if you're not a stay-at-home housewife, your children will go bonkers. So my poor mother didn't have a choice other than either work in a factory, a cigarette factory, standing all day on concrete floors, or be a housewife. So she chose being a housewife. And what happened is that when you're a housewife, you have to have a poofy pink ballerina little girl to go with it. And I didn't want to. So I started fighting her. I said, I'm not a girl. And she said, are you a boy? And I went, I'm not a boy. And so the battle went on. I didn't want to wear pink dresses and all of those things, to the point where we had screaming matches, and I would rip my clothes off because I didn't want to wear them. And so my mother withdrew her love because she gave up, and I started having anxiety attacks. And they got worse and worse and worse because a 6-year-old needs unconditional love, I've discovered since then. And so one time when I had this huge anxiety attack, I ran down the hallway, went into my room, and cried out for help. And all of a sudden, this great big flash of white light happened. I have a feeling it was my third eye opening up. What would a 6-year-old know? I thought I saw my guardian angel. And the light stayed until I calmed down and my breathing went back to normal. And then all of a sudden, I knew the world was different. And as a 6-year-old, I went outside and I swear the world looked different. And I know it was a spiritual awakening because ever since then, I have never had anxiety attacks and I have never felt alone. And I've had a trust that no matter how bad things get, something will come about if I am patient. And so that's how I know it was a spiritual awakening and not just some thing that a 6-year-old experienced. So what happened after that was in the emptiness of having the connection with my mother, I had the beginnings of an anxiety attack. So I ran up the tree so fast that the kookaburras and the cockatoos, we still had native Australian birds in our trees back then, they didn't move. And as I was panting before having an anxiety attack, they just looked at me and I could smell their feathers. And all of a sudden, I experienced unconditional love. And so I would climb the tree anytime I wanted. And if they weren't there, I would do the kookaburra laugh and the cockatoo sound, and they would all come flying over. And it was always the same birds with a few extras thrown in. And so it was the beginning of me knowing that when something is taken away, like my mother withdrawing from me, something else is going to come in that I really need at the time. And I have to say that I have a connection with all animals ever since then. You know, I live in a gated community. I know all the dogs and cats, and hummingbirds flutter around, butterflies show up. You know, it's like I have never been empty of unconditional love because I have this connection with all kinds of animals. And what's great about that is I know now what I was fighting for was my non-binary identity. I knew I wasn't a girl. I knew I wasn't a boy. I was this other creature that had no words at the time in the 1950s. And then when I was 16, I came out gay. And that's a big oops in an immigrant family that's Roman Catholic. Oops. My parents had bragged about how I'm not running around with boys and getting pregnant. Well, when they found out why, you know, it was a horrible thing. You know, it's like putting mud on your head um, when you're all dressed up for something cool. And and so it was another level of having to learn to trust that something's going to happen. So something good's going to happen. And I have to admit, I had to leave home as soon as I could for that to happen. You know, I left home in the 1960s when all that wonderful communal living and counterculture happened, and we were eating, you know, growing our own vegetables and blah, blah, blah. But what happened for me is that all of the movements I was involved in. I was involved with the anti-Vietnam War movement because I, you know, didn't believe in the draft. You know, then I got involved in the anti-nuclear movement because America was mining uranium on Aboriginal sacred land. in Australia, the Aboriginal people and the gay people were on the equally at the bottom of the rung. So we were fighting each other's fights. And then I got involved in several other issues until I hit the gay liberation movement. Woohoo! And I was involved with the very first gay community center in Australia in Sydney, and nobody knew that I was unhoused at the time. I was asked to be a live-in custodian. So I moved in and and it was really amazing. I was 20 years old, very much a lost pup. But I had found my people, and I discovered that people have a hard time giving unconditional love when you're really close. You know what I mean? It's almost like you have to be further away to experience the unconditional love. It's a bit like the Bette Midler song. You are my friend from a distance. Um, and so it was an interesting time. And I feel as if I've come full circle. Here I am in San Jose. I don't live at the Billy DeFrank Center, but people accuse me of living here. Um, and what is happening is the same battles that we were fighting in the 1960s and early 70s are now coming up again. And I sort of feel, wait a minute, haven't I been through this before? And there's a part of me that is unafraid, personally, but I am afraid for my community. So many people have committed suicide. So many people have given up. And I am trying to bring the strength that I have found in my spirituality, that it's okay. What is being taken away, something else will come in to take its place. I was the executive director of a nonprofit for 15 years. Then certain people came and destroyed my nonprofit. But then I got asked to be on the board of the Billy DeFrank Center, and those people that destroyed my last nonprofit have no power in the gay community. So, it's like, how did that happen? I mean, without skipping a beat, the universe came flying in and said, okay, here's your next assignment. It's like, I feel as if the universe is my, the CEO of my life, because I never know what's going to happen next. And so I am going to be one of the official speakers at the 5051 rally on Saturday. And I've come up with a really wonderful concept for my speech, that the truth of the matter is, when we are successful, they don't like it. It's when Obama became president. How dare a black man be president of the United States? We can't have that. How dare a woman be successful? No, we can't have that. How dare LGBTQs live successful lives and be out there and visible? How dare transgender folks be lovely people leading their lives? We can't have that. Success is what has upset them, not because we're horrible and low life. It's because we've been successful. in our journey, in being who we are and being out there. That's what's been offensive and why the backlash is happening. And I want to remind people of that on Saturday, that it is our joy, our success, our spirit, our just being who we are. And and I see the Billy DeFrank Center as our third space where we get to be who we are, even if the rest of the world out there does not want us to be that. We get to have that while we are here, so that we don't forget who we truly are. And so, I find inspiration all the time. I'm so glad that I've hung on to that thread of spirit throughout my life, because I've been unhoused a number of times and survived it. One cute story though, um, I was back in 1979, I was using alcohol and I started to use speed, and I started to get paranoid for the first time in my life. So I would break into this church and sort of just sit there for hours until the paranoia went away. And then one morning, after doing this several times, the church people came in and they said, "We know that you're not doing any damage to the church except for the lock. So it's really expensive to keep changing the lock. Here's a key. So anytime you need to come in here." And they asked me, "Why are you coming in here?" And I said, "I get paranoid out there." And they said, "We have nationalized medicine." They said, "Go see a doctor." And I went, "Okay." So I went to the doctor and I said, "I've never been paranoid in my life except the last 6 months." And the doctor had the hide to ask, "Have you been using speed?" And I said, "What's that got to do with anything?" And he said, "Everything. Speed makes you paranoid." And I went, "Oh, I'll quit that then." And I gave the key back to the church. Anyway, spirit is everywhere, even when you're using alcohol and drugs. And it's because I learned to trust what that energy is inside of me, even when I'm wonked out. And I think that's the miracle of it, you know? So thank you.
Thank you so much, Gabriella. And that what you truly have done is kind of reminded us in a powerful way of that through line of spirit, right? That through line of wherever we can connect to it in whatever way we can, that's the ticket. That's the ticket. That's how we can make that connection. And also how sometimes that very spirit moves in our connection with each other, right? Which is one of the things that you create at Billy DeFrank Center, which is such a gift to our community. Such a gift. This is wonderful, my friends. So I'd like to open it up for discussion, questions, thoughts. Let's take this forward with the wisdom that's been shared. Any reactions, any thoughts of your own? All right, Joyce C.
Greetings, everyone. And, this may make some sense, it may not. And some of you may have heard some of this anyway. I started thinking back to the age of 12 because it was a turning point in my life. And it was an amazing time. It was a time of great changes in my family's life. We were farmers, sharecroppers kind of thing down in Mississippi, outside of Clarksdale, California.
Clarksdale, Mississippi.
Clarksdale,
Mississippi.
Oh, Clarksdale, Mississippi. Thank you. Anyway, it was amazing to live out there and do all that kind of working by the day, having your own gardens and things like that. And then the opportunity came to move to California in 1972. And the whole Brown family, and there was 12 of us all together, and all of the Brown families moved to Santa Barbara, California. And I just want to let you know, that couldn't have been more shocking and surprising to me than anything. I was used to being a Black kid in Mississippi, okay? And with all the rules and what you can and can't do. And then you come to a place called Santa Barbara, California, and there's all these rules, but no one really talks about them. You see, but you're supposed to follow them. And you have to be a certain way. So I went from the segregation of being a Black farmer to a segregation of being a Black child in Santa Barbara. It was amazing. But what I learned was how to be me. And this is what I wanted to say. I had to learn how to be Joyce C. Brown, not what others thought of me or wanted me to be. You see, I had to be me. And that took some doing because I didn't fit. I didn't fit in. I just didn't with the girls principally. My family was doing whatever they were doing. They had married and all kinds of things was going on. So there's a lot happening in the Brown family. But I discovered that there's this inner me, and I got to know her. And that particular part of me made the difference into the person that I am today. That I appreciate me and I like me. It's really important. I really do. I like me. Yes, I know the significance of love and all of those things, but I'm talking about groundedness. I like me. And I learned to like me because I stopped trying to fit in and be what I saw others being that was in my age group and was young Black girls. Because I went from segregation in Mississippi to a different kind of segregation in Santa Barbara, California, amongst all the races. And so today, I'm still liking me. And I want all of you to know I really appreciate your sharing. Very insightful and incredible teachings. And it gives you something to look at within yourself. Not trying to be like someone else, but looking at the strength that you all had to take, you all do to be who you are. And so I just wanted to share that little bit of chatter that I'm into this thing of being Joyce C. Brown. And basically, I like me.
I love it. Because that's what community can give us, is backup. We can be your backup singers on liking you.
Yes.
Chris.
And you are too.
Can I ask a question?
Chris had her hand up.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Joan.
I read a story about a fellow that did a meditation where he went back to before he was born, and he had the experience of agreeing to come in as a gay man into a Christian community in Oklahoma.
Wow.
And he made that agreement before he was born. And I was wondering if any of you have explored that possibility.
Any of you?
That's a beautiful question.
Yes. Yes. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. I made a decision before I was born. And to something I have not shared with anyone. Well, Patty knows everything, but I came into a 10-year-old body. The original person left and I came in. And I knew what I was coming into. Okay. And it was there. There was an amazing journey of what I had to deal with within the family, within communities, and with what I was learning by watching what people were doing to each other. And so that for me is something that I very seldom will speak of, but I just wanted you to know that it does happen. People just don't talk about it. It's not always an easy thing to do. But the thing is, I am Joyce C. Brown. There is no question about that. I carry the name, you see, but I am that person in terms of who I came to be as Joyce C. Brown, not the original, but I am me. And I had this body to live in and people to get to know and things to learn. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was not.
Mm-mm. No, it wasn't.
Yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
Gabrielle.
No, you, Chris. And then I'll come on in.
All right. It is difficult following Joyce C. Brown, but that's okay. She's my cousin. So one of the things I like to do is to discover little points that I know about, but I don't talk about. And I thought there was a thing that came up that I thought was just a little piece, and I'll follow with something else. So without going into any details, I married the love of my life at the age of 22. And 2 years later, he came out, and then I came out 2 weeks after that. And then there was a divorce. And I went, yeah, okay. So then I did get involved with somebody. I was actually with someone for 2 years. And I waited for 2 years until I told my parents. It was very easy not to let them know. We weren't real close. And I remember deciding I was going to tell my parents that I was gay. And so this would be 82. And one of the memories that I have prior to that was Cleve Jones in San Francisco saying that he was gay and talking about things. It was just like, that's kind of one of the memories of that time, early Cleve Jones, you know who that is. Anyway, so it was, gay was on TV and things like that, but I was 24, 25. And I was sitting in the kitchen with my parents. I said, I have something I have to tell you. And it was really hard. And I started to cry and I couldn't get it out. And my dad says, well, what? Are you pregnant? And I had to sit back and laugh and just, and I'm sure there's a lot of people have a story, something like this. I never said it out loud, but boy, are you going to wish that that was true. And that's the little nugget that I've never shared. This is kind of a fun little place to do that. And they didn't cotton to it very well. They found ways to make me bad and wrong for that choice.
Wow.
And my dad was taught at Foothill forever and ever and ever, 30 years. And so he had access to wild and woolly ways of thinking, but my mom not so much. And so my dad was much more on the kind of on the precipice and on the fulcrum about maybe. And then he would ask me really embarrassing questions because that was him. But my mother just basically never talked to me again. I mean, that's not exactly true, but it's true enough.
Wow.
Here's one more reason why I'm never going to talk to you again. That's kind of another.
Wow.
So, and what I want to add that is not part of most people's stories is that my husband went off with his young man, and he went and had a life for a while and had another life and another life. And a different partner that he was with died in his arms of AIDS, and some other things happened. And he eventually came back. He was in Europe and came back home, and some other things happened. And quite a few years later, he and I, when we were first married, we had been teaching at a private school. And that private school was having its 20-year anniversary.
Wow.
And they invited both of us, and they said, "You two are the guests of honor," because I think we were the only teachers who were showing up. So the two of us, we both met there, and I sat next to him, and I just said, "You're family," and he said, "We're family," and we had a pretty immediate reconciling. And life moved on. Other things happened. When I was ordained as a reverend, he was the only person I wanted to be sure to be there, besides Janet and Dr. Eileen. But of all the guests, I said, I don't care what date I don't care anything, as long as he can be there. I don't care if anybody else comes. And he came, and he was with a partner that he was then with for 25 years. And it was the highlight of, for me, it was the highlight of whatever. There's life after gay divorce, but a lot of people never get to have it, and I'm one of the extraordinarily fortunate ones. Something I want to throw into the mix, in terms of spirituality. So a lot of what I've just mentioned is, finding your own compass and knowing that, finding ways to know that you are somebody. I am somebody. I did have so when I was back then in 1985, 84, in there, I ended up in 12-step program, and I've been in it for, I think it's 40 years now, 37 years. And what I've discovered is that when all falls apart, that my rock is that. So when I identify, if I had to identify in one place, what is my spirituality, I've discovered that that's what it is. Because as I peel away the layers and the layers and the layers, that's the rock. So I say that for anyone now, later in the future, for whom that's helpful. One of the things that I was able to achieve, starting with a 12-step foundation, is several years ago, I went to one of those events where they sort of break you down in order to bring you up. It was not the one you're thinking of. It was one with integrity, but it was still a break you down first. And the people there were trying to figure out what's my issue, and they were saying to me, what is your issue that you're not worthy? And I had this amazing moment. No, am I worthy is no longer a question for me. It's wow, when did that happen? It took 40 years. And it's somewhere along the way, my system decided to hold that I am worthy. So, but it was Friday night, and it was a whole weekend, and I had to find the next level. So we had to figure out the next question, and I do want to share it with you. The next question that was on the list was, do I matter? And I was so amazed at the question, the am I worthy is about me. Do I matter is about my relationship in the world and how other people see me in a good way. Do I matter is taking into consideration other people's considerations of me. And I was able to share that with Janet when it was very, very fresh. And it was very useful to do that. And several years later, on one of the presentations we have here, it was Pride 4 years ago. I gave a prayer for Pride. And what I discovered 4 months after having delivered the prayer for Pride, I woke up one morning and I go, oh, handled. So I don't know what it is. I don't know how the fabric moves in me, around me, in the universe. I don't know how that fabric moves, but I've had the opportunity to wake up and discover that demons that I never thought would disappear have simply dissipated. And I want to offer that as well. I didn't go after it. And even the matter, do I matter? It's like, oh, that's my new issue. Okay, fine. Do I matter? And then I kind of let it go and just laughed about it here and there. And, oh, isn't it funny that that's my issue? And then one day I woke up and it wasn't that it was gone without notice, but it was 4 months after I'd given that spiel. Wow. So the universe has an extraordinary ability to repair the rents in our psyches, in our emotions, in our ethereal bodies, in our physical bodies. And there's one other thing I wanted to add, and that is that I have today, right now, I have a job, and my job is a kind of a small job in a big company. And I sit in a little tiny cube and I just do one thing all day long, and they pay me really well and I'm happy, and that's that. And I went away for a weekend to do a thing I do every year. And the boss comes around and goes, how was your weekend? And I was trying to tell him. And I finally said to him, I know I'm really kind of like small here, but I'm really big out there. And I'm fine being small here, because I have other places that I am really, really big. And to be able to say that without any kind of attitude, it wasn't even pride. It was just like, I'm so happy here. Let me just stay here and be just chilled, because I do really big things outside. Yeah, I do really big things, not in the work world, in other venues. And I want to go back and say that that's, to me, that's all part of that God fabric. It's all part of that universe, how we are in the world, how we see ourselves. And I wasn't always like that. I had to become it. It's taken me 50 years of therapy and processing and being willing to find things that need work and work on them without beating myself up. And I've had a lot of mentors, lots of mentors in a lot of places. But there is vast love, acceptance, tolerance. And when we don't have that, there's other places we can go and find it, so that we can come back. And if we need to put ourselves into the fray, if we need to be on the front lines, there are a lot of places, and this is one of them, this event here. There are a lot of places where God meets human. God meets human, love meets heart. We get to be seen, we get to be valued, we get to be respected, and all of those things. I'm running out of words. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you so much, Reverend Chris. Beautiful. Gabrielle, it's back to you. You had your hand raised.
I got really into that, Chris. Thank you.
Beautiful.
I just wanted to, say that I think different people come into the physical world different ways. Some make contracts and know exactly where they're going. But I'll never forget what I identified with is Pink Floyd, The Wall. Right at the beginning, it has Sunshine, the spirit that's floating around the universe, looks down on planet Earth and says, that looks like a fun show. And then you hear a nosedive, and boom, the baby's crying, and Sunshine is born, human. And the whole struggle of Sunshine is every experience is another brick in the wall. And Sunshine has to keep remembering that he is a free spirit. And I tend to identify with that way of showing up because it somehow got me. I went, somebody knows. That's what happened. And I'm not so sure I want to come back to planet Earth, by the way, but it's been quite a trip because it seems that it keeps repeating itself over and over again over history. And anyway, I won't go into that. But I think the thing that has really helped me is even though my mother rejected me because she saw herself as a housewife, and because I wouldn't play being a cute little girl, um, I was not really a person to her. It's more like an object, but at the same time, that's what parenting was back then. You have to do what I say because you're an extension of me. And that was part of how people saw children. So I can't begrudge her that. But I have to say, my dad did like who I was. He, and I think that gave me the psychological strength to just be who I am. Um, and my kindergarten teacher really liked who I was too. And I can name one or two people along the way who liked who I was, no matter how quirky. And that was enough to keep me stable psychologically so that I could stay in touch with spirit. And so it's been an interesting journey because I remember a therapist once asking me, "You seem internally stable. Have you had people who like who you are?" And I had to think about it, and so I came up with my list, and it's really interesting. And so I try and be that person for others where I just like who you are. It doesn't matter who you are, just like it. And that might be the very thing that that person needs on a psychological level. They may not need to know anything about God right now. They just need to know that somebody out there likes their personality, their quirkiness. You know, People come to the Billy DeFrank Center dressed up as Fanime to come and play board games. It's adorable, you know? And you should see how they react when I go, oh my God, that's so cute. It's just, I don't know, it's a very simple thing, but it's something I can give because it was given to me, now and again. I can stretch it.
Oh,
Anyway,
I love that image of stretching it, right? To
yeah.
kind of include even more people in that acceptance that you received. It's beautiful. Yeah. And isn't it that simple? I mean, that connection, wherever we can make a connection, it connects us to that greater spirit, right? So making that connections with each other.
Yes. Part of the journey is really coming to terms with liking yourself. At least that was really important for me. But I want to also share with you, I had this most remarkable person in my life named my daddy, and Joseph Levi Thomas Brown. And he was an amazing father for me. He was an amazing father for 10 children. I'm number 7. And what he did was he taught me how to be at peace with myself, not to try to make everybody like me and all of that stuff. All the way up until when he left the planet, he did the same thing from Mississippi to Santa Barbara, California. My father was working with me, Joyce C., to be me. And he was proud of me because I went to school. He was watching me finish what he didn't get to do. And he loved seeing me do this and that I actually enjoyed it. And I just wanted to share that the journey, sometimes that you don't have to have, as has been pointed out, a whole bunch of people liking you. Sometimes it just, well, outside of yourself, it's nice to have one other person that can show some sense of caring for you without any strings on it.
Yeah.
That can give you teaching, can be there for you, spend some time with you, but do not try to control you. And so, because of my daddy, I feel that I came to peace with me. And that's very important to me as Joyce C. I came to peace with me. This is not about the world liking me. I had to start someplace. And I started with me liking me. Now, when you like yourself, in my case, because I like me, I can open to allow others in my life. I'm not looking for them to put something in or replace something. For me to get to know someone, it's just because I think they're a lot of fun and it's good to get to know them. And it's just I like it. And I discovered that they like me too, and we all get to know each other. But at no time are we asking for the others to, you know, push themselves aside so someone else can take place. So I just wanted to share that because of all of that, I was able to move forward in life after my father transitioned to reach some goals that I had made a promise that I would do for him. And the goals that I was going to do was to go to school and graduate because he didn't get to go to school. And I did. And to this day, I can still feel his energy. And Jan has heard me say it so often. Well then, Joyce C. Well then.
Yeah.
And I always know when that comes from nowhere, that's my dad again letting me know I did it. And he lets me know. And that was the language that he had. And that is the language that I respect. Yes. I just wanted to share a little bit. This is a very interesting gathering that has a lot of wonderful teachings and that helps you to realize that it's okay to be you. It's very important. So many times we spend so much time trying to be like someone else, but that's them. I was always to my daddy, Joyce C. And I learned to be Joyce C. And I am Joyce C. So thank you all for your attention. Thank you very much.
That's so beautiful, Joyce C. Because just invoking your name, Joyce C., you know,
Thank you.
right? It's very powerful. When we state who we are and how we want our name said, that's all important. For it to be honored, it speaks to our specific person. And I'm
I agree.
so grateful that you have Mr. Brown, and I've also sometimes been able to take advantage of his well then. Well
Yes.
then.
Well then. Yes.
And that's definitely it's like his clarion call to bring us to the present moment
Yes.
and to be the best we can be and be fully ourselves. And, I think that's a spiritual through line that many of you have talked about. That's the spiritual through line, is that when we are able to be more ourselves, we bring that energy to the world.
Mm.
And, starting with Daniel, it's like that whole expression, what each and every one of you shared, is incredibly powerful because it's that invitation. It's that invitation
Yes.
to be.
But I
To be-
really, really, really think we need mentors.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
I think there's two ends of this fulcrum, right? If we've achieved some measure of liking oneself and all the things that go with it, can we turn around and be that model, that template for others? I think that's the best thing that I can do, is to show up. My philosophy is, if people who report to me and I want to work with them, I let them know what I'm doing. I model the behavior. I also put words on it. I have that relationship with them. I'm able to do that. This is what I'm doing, and this is why.
Yeah.
I believe that achieving those kinds of milestones, it's really important to be able to turn around and say, there's an expression in 12-step. If you see somebody who has what you want, ask them how they got it. I just grew up with that, and it's so important. Wow, you have grace, you have poise, you have patience, you have understanding. How did you get that? And for me, I like to talk to other people about, I'm more wordy than most. So yeah, I might perform the behavior, whatever that behavior is. Patience, modesty is not one of them, but patience, forgiveness, tolerance, whatever. But then I'm going to put words on it, because some people are more sensate and some people are audio, etc. I really think that's a huge piece of the give back.
I love that word. I love that word, Chris, the give back, because as you said that, I mean, it is a huge infinity of giving and receiving. And just you bringing that up, it is the give back. And putting words to it can sometimes help people to begin to put words to it for themselves. It's almost like breaking the ice, to make it possible a little bit more easy.
That it not be a mystery. We have
Right.
enough mysteries. How to get through tough times.
Yeah.
Let's give people, whether we got it when we were coming up or not.
Yeah.
What can we do to help others have a way that works, so that they can move up and out? And yeah, not to take away those important experiences, that's not the point, but I think it behooves us to consider, how can we be a mentor?
Well, and in a really powerful way, that breaks the conspiracy of silence that so often happens, particularly in our LGBTQIA plus community. That conspiracy of silence can create such isolation and such a sense of helplessness. So.
Janet,
Yes.
I'm sorry that there's not more people here, and I'm sorry that there's not more people like me here. In that, before I joined CCL, I probably only knew of gay people. like somebody's son's friend was gay. That was my exposure to the gay community prior to CCL. And when it was quite a learning curve for me to just accept these people and learn from them and value them for who they are, regardless of who they love. And the song, what the world needs now is love, sweet love. And I just kept thinking that as I got to know people, and who cares who or how they love. The important thing is we're a loving community.
Yeah.
And so I'm really sorry that there's not more newcomers like me here to hear your stories, which I've totally enjoyed. I find you all to be so amazingly brave and so strong. I appreciate your stories.
Well,
That means
I
that
wanted
means so much. That means so much.
let
Thank you,
me
Joan.
let me tell you though, I was asked to be on an LGBTQ panel out there in the community, and I said no because nobody will show up. It was a whole day of one panel after another. I said I would rather be on a panel of all minorities, then more people will show up, and then the LGBTQ voice will be heard. But it's pretty common because we're a small population, people don't think that there's anything to learn. And it's not always a negative thing, it's just we don't really exist in their life as all that meaningful. It's only when suddenly you have a family member or, something that happens that brings your attention that people will show up for something like this. So it's okay. The people who showed up, like you did.
Like
Yay.
you did. I just want to honor that, Joan. You did show up.
Yeah.
And this is
Yeah.
making and Trisha, you have something. You have your hand raised. Yes.
Oh, go ahead, finish.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say this has been recorded, so other people will see it
That's
eventually,
right.
eventually. So,
That's
And
true.
and the power of it, though, Joan, is having you say it on the recording, because Corky and I were determined to have this. We were determined to have this month. There was talk about, well, it's really busy. A lot of people are going through a lot. And we said, no, we need to have this month. And so, we both fought for it. I felt like, and, I'm going to put in Reverend Chris in that too, because Chris really helped to spark the flame. And the purpose of it is anyone can look at this, and Joni, what you can do is say, hey, this was a wonderful conversation. You can let folks know that you did come and that it was a good conversation. And that might inspire them.
You know me, I tell everybody all my adventures. So this is just one of them.
Yeah.
But yes, it's certainly worth spreading the word.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know I'm looking at Tom and Mary in the middle of the screen, and they have always been supportive since the day I've known them. And they've been, I've known them for what? Over probably almost 50 years now. And they have always been that warm, welcoming presence that just embraced. They were the embodiment of UCM for me when I first came on board. They were the ones that brought me in. And they're just an incredible example. Just noticing them in the middle of my screen and their smiles and their validation, their affirmation. It's just beautiful to see. And it's past their bedtime and they're still saying, who's still staying
I
with
think
us.
Mary wants to say something. I see
Please.
your hand up.
Yes, yes. Mary, go
Mary,
ahead.
you're on mute.
Unmute, Mary.
Thank you. I did want to say something. Obviously, where I am. But I think people's sexuality is their own choice, and sometimes it comes from outside, and sometimes it comes from inside. And I don't give a hoot. What I came to this meeting for was to see how I could connect. And I thought, well, you're the little straight girl from Elk Grove. But I realized that what you in some ways were all talking about is how you have your whole life and then you have a challenge that you have to manage in the midst of it. And I think that I wanted to continue to think about it that way because there's nothing wrong. And I think with our choices, personal spiritual choices and personal sexual choices. That's for each person. When they come in, they make decisions. What I thought was, I've kind of lost my train of thought. I'm going to close my eyes for just a second, and then if I don't say anything, plug me off, Janet.
Mhm.
What I realized is that what you have done, everybody here on this in this panel and in this attendance at this thing, is they have lived a full life. They have tried to do the things that were the right things to do, and they did them while they knew that they also had this box over here that they had to keep with them and to have people understand and not allow people to disrupt your personal energy because they haven't worked through their own stuff. And so I said, well, does that apply to you, Mary? And I said, well, what have I ever had to work with like this? And I remember that, not now, because I have had Tom for all these years, but I was poor. We were poor when I was a little girl, when I was small, probably till I was 13. And I mean poor, and we lived in a trailer that didn't have water at all, and we had to go outside for the bathroom. And the best thing about living in the trailer camp was that once a year the gypsies came, and that they would have fire and dance and sing, and my brother and I would sneak out of the trailer and lay in the grass and see a whole new world. And but I didn't like being viewed at school and other places as poor. I mean, I was poor, but I didn't care, and they shouldn't care. And so I saw that it takes some attention, which I've seen each single person tonight, whatever it is, gives that attention, that side piece that could drain you if you didn't pay attention. But I see how everybody pays attention and develops a coping strategy in their own way. And I just wanted to, because I can never keep my mouth shut, but I just wanted to say how much I admire every single person that said, normally I might not talk about this, but this is a crowd that can be trusted and we can learn from each other strategies. And I just wanted to acknowledge it and to thank each of you for everything you said and did and have done. And so, thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Beautifully said. Tricia. No, beautiful. Tricia, you had your hand up.
Oh, I put my hand up right after you said, Janet, you said it was Mary's past Mary's bedtime.
Oh,
And I was gonna say it's past my kitty cat Coco's bedtime as well.
Okay.
But I'm in the kitchen and he's in the living room on the floor, just kind of watching me and sleeping here with me and waiting waiting to cuddle with me tonight. So
All right.
anyway, no, I'm not going to leave yet, but
Okay,
I
but
just
when
wanted
you
to add that
absolutely
because
when you
I felt like it fit there.
it fit perfectly. It fit perfectly.
Well,
Oh,
one thing I do want to say is that we're the only minority that is potentially rejected by our own families. Every other minority sticks together against the dominant culture, but our families have a tendency to reject us. And my parents never accepted you know, um, my homosexuality. And there's a part of me that gets sad about that.
yeah,
But then I realized that really it was them that missed out on getting to know me.
yeah,
Um, and like I've said before, the universe always compensates. There's other people that want to know who I am. And I can't make my parents more important than other people
yeah,
because everyone is important. And I think it's an equalizer. But at the same time, it's a good reminder when somebody needs nurturing, it could be because their parents had rejected them.
right,
And it's a very harsh reality. I know this teenage gay boy. He came home from school one time, and and his whole family packed up and left without letting him know. That's how much they were homophobic. And so the
gosh,
poor young man ended up unhoused and bitter and, really having a horrible life because he was unprepared for something like that. And my heart goes out to those people who've not had a chance to regroup,
right,
coming home to no one is the cruelest thing that sometimes families will do. So, it's like, and that's why we call the Billy DeFrank Center your third home, where you do get to be welcomed. Allies, people who like us, are welcome. And it's where you get to be who you are. And if anyone is going to be bigoted about it, they have to deal with me because I will not allow that. And it's a huge amount of pain because in our society they always talk about family values. And when it comes to us, family values can just drop off the planet. And it's unfair and it's very painful. I can feel the pain in other people when that's what's happening. And sometimes the best thing you can do is just ask if they want a hug. And there's a whole movement out there where women are running around with T-shirts that say free mom hugs.
yep,
That's in response to that. And we
yes,
go to gay pride festivals and hug everyone who wants a hug. And so sometimes that's all that's needed. Yeah.
beautifully said.
Hmm.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yes,
I just wanted to thank everyone for being here and feeling comfortable and free and to speak your mind and what and to feel safe enough to tell your story. So
yes,
everyone, thank you, and hopefully this will people might be be interested in watching the video, and I hope so because
yeah.
there's a lot of information here,
A lot of
especially
wisdom.
with people that are gay.
Absolutely.
And, it's
Chris, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to this to the spirituality piece again, if I may. I'm gonna put a headline in the chat here. This just happened. Southern Baptists vote to seek repeal of historic same-sex marriage ruling.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
This, I'm glad Mary's back. I was waiting, hoping she would come back. Mary is the counterpoint to the Southern Baptist Convention. The 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 damage that can be done by a person's God or faith community, ripping them apart, is unspeakable. It is wrong. It is bad. It's all those things. We need, we value, we respect, we need people like Mary and Tom, people who bring God with them when they come and sit with us.
And I would add Joan to that as well.
Joan
has shown
Joan,
up in such
thank
a
you.
beautiful way. Yeah.
And other people, I think it's impossible to tally up the value of having somebody who sits with you or who speaks with you or whatever, who can hold space with you, who has that God piece. Because we get so much press about all the bad ways, all the ways to fracture who we are and our relationship, our individual relationship with God, to fracture that and say, you don't get to be in this club. This is an important club and it's vital, and you don't get to be part of it because you're broken.
Right.
So I just want to say that, and I appreciate you mentioning Joan, because yes, Joan, I'm going to say Mary knows that we love her and we need her. And Joan, I would like for you to also know how much we love you and how much we need you to be our ally. You can't be your own ally sometimes, right? And to know that we have allies. There we are. Look at that.
Beautiful.
I just want to say Gabrielle and I go way back. We go so far back. We go way back. And I love it. We got the same thing on our brains. So Joan, to you in particular, but to anybody at any point in time, when you can not only sit with us with love and attention, and bring God, it's there's nothing like it. I don't have words for the import that is. I want to add one other small thing. And
then we have a couple of other folks that have raised their hands, so this is exciting.
Right. Well, I want to put in a little thing. My partner and I 3 weeks ago celebrated 30 years together, and I'm a rabble rouser. We were up in the state of Washington. We were in Oregon. We were in other places in California, not Bay Area, or in Bay Area places that aren't necessarily flying a pride flag. And I'll measure the moment, but I will tell anybody, we're here, we're celebrating 30 years. Now, they don't always get it, and that's fine. They'll get it 6 months from now, wake up and go, what were they? But one of the things I do is wherever I'm feeling safe and wherever possible, I will throw that in if I think that it's going to land. Hi, this is Robin. We're celebrating 30 years this week. And I think that that's a rarity. And I think it is incumbent upon me to put that where it hasn't been seen before. It hasn't been contemplated before. And I like watching what happens.
That's beautiful.
It's been fun. Okay, thank you for letting me put that in.
I just want to share something that happened, if I can, just on the tail of that. And Tricia, I promise I'll get to you.
Yeah.
You go ahead first, and then I'll share after
No, you go ahead.
Because I'm just so excited to hear this, because we had our 25th anniversary at China Sticks. And that's a place where we've always felt welcomed. You know, Corey and I have always felt welcomed at China Sticks. And one young man came up to me, I don't know if it was a waiter or a bus person or, who it was, but he came up and he said, "Thank you for saying it out loud." And I just had to say, I just thought in my mind, and he held me with both of his arms and he said, "Sometimes we can't say it out loud." And it just took my breath away. So I just really want to back up what you said, Chris. When we have that opportunity, and then it gives other people the opportunity to open up their arms and accept us. Tricia, go.
Oh, I was just going to say, and this is back a couple speakers ago, or not speakers, but comments ago, I don't watch the news anymore.
Yeah.
So that's how I just don't watch news anymore. Now, I know what's going on in the world still, but I don't watch, I just don't watch news anymore.
Yeah.
Because it just makes me, it just brings my blood pressure up and it makes me angry, and I just don't do it anymore. And
So
I hang out with people I love and who love me, whether that be family, friends, whatever.
So that's the real antidote to the news. And I know many people in this beautiful Zoom circle have heard me say, take a news diet. And I find that sometimes I need to take a news diet. I can't look at the news. I just need a diet from it.
And I haven't watched it since one of the things I didn't mention in my intro was I worked the polls the last at least two elections, and I didn't watch the news during that time or before it really. Well, I didn't watch the news when I was watching the news back in March, I think, because I wanted to see, I was at the ROV headquarters, and I was wondering if I'd be on the news. But other than that, I didn't watch it. And my sister called me though and said, "Oh, I saw you on the news. You were in the background."
Wow.
I'm like, "Cool, that's cool." All right, so yeah, because I was in an information table in their quad area or something. So
That's
anyway,
wonderful.
Anyway,
Because
I didn't mean to plug myself, but
no, let's plug ourselves, please.
Yeah,
Let us plug ourselves. And I don't know if any of you know, but Tricia was on the back end of VTA buses.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, she was a poster child. Right.
Saying vote, because they took a bunch of pictures of me and they said I didn't know I'd be on the back of a bus. In fact, one of my coworkers said to me at a picnic, I came to a picnic, and they said, "You're famous." I said, "What? What?" And they showed me this picture, and they texted it to me. I was on the back of a bus saying vote, because as I said, they had taken a bunch of pictures and photos of me, and so I was on the back of a bus. I was on the flagpole of the ROV, a couple places around the ROV, so it's pretty exciting.
So that's great when we can be visual, and as you know, Chris was talking earlier about being verbalizing it, and also being visual. right? Those are two powerful senses that we can imprint and share information and wisdom. And I'm just so touched by each and every one of yours courage to speak your truth, your courage to say we're going to reach for that spiritual connection. I mean, right from what Daniel started, talking, and, right till, we heard from Trisha. It's like each and every one of you is bringing yourself to our community and to our world and creating that. It's like a spiritual net of support that we can be for each other, whether we are dealing with whatever issue we are dealing with. And it goes back to when Mary was talking about, having a lot of shame about being poor. That's a real issue. And when we can come together and we can have these meaningful conversations about what it means on a spiritual and a social level, to live our lives fully. And I just want to say, I'm just so proud of each and every one of you. And Dottie and Corky haven't said much, but they've done stuff in our community for years and years and years and years. So much. And, each of you brings your open heart. And that, my friends, is what we need. We need that open heart and that courage, to say, yes, I am going to stand up for this. And yes, I am going to support. And yes, I'm going to be an ally. And I just want to see that sign one more time, Gabrielle. We love our allies. Absolutely. That's it. We love our allies. Because that's truly what makes us a community. It's truly what builds the energy of support and the energy of comfort and the heart that we can bring to each and every one of us. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart to our 4 panelists. Thank you for being here and sharing your wisdom, and thank you to all of the participants who showed up and spoke the truth of your heart. I mean, this is so wonderful. I can't tell you, I've been uplifted by tonight. And I want each and every one of you to go away and know that you have made a difference tonight. This recording will be shared, and let us share the experience we had with each other so that when the recording gets posted, other people can look at this too and learn and be comforted and be validated and be loved. Thank you, each and every one of you, for an amazing night. And don't forget, every second Tuesday, we have speakers series about wonderful topics.
You want the topic? Do you want
Yes,
the topic?
yes. I was just going to
Okay.
ask you, would you share it?
All right, so I'm going to take 1 minute or less. I'm going to do a 2-hour event with discussion this time. The first half is going to be on interesting nuggets about Judaism all over the place. And the second half is going to be a nominal tutorial on the Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism. And so far, I haven't found anybody in our group. I don't know of anyone who has any background in the Kabbalah.
No, it's rich, though. It is so rich. It's
I'm
the
learning
tree of
it
life.
quickly. I'm studying it quickly, and it will be just lifting the veil oh so little bit, but I want to get you guys all excited about discovering whether or not you would like to go look into the Kabbalah. It's amazing. Yes, it's amazing. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be out of this world.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. And I'm so excited. So these are the kinds of wonderful, and you notice that Chris said with discussion. I mean, this wisdom sharing is really what makes it happen. So there's such richness. So thank you, Reverend Chris. I'm so grateful you're bringing that to us in July. All
Good.
right.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone for coming tonight, and Janet for helping hold this space for us
It was
Oh,
wonderful.
to share and um tell our stories and
oh,
be safe to
yeah. Oh,
to
thank you so much.
have it be whatever we wanted it to be.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Blessings to each and every one of you. And have a great day and do something fun and decadent that has no socially redeeming value whatsoever. That's your homework.
I love that.
Thank
I
you.
love that homework.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.
Thank
Good
you
night.
all. Good night.
Bye.